Play that funky music, Murf.
I always miss where the intro is.
You're killing me.
We ready? Are we live?
Kick it, bro. I gave you the kickoff.
It's Raiders Fan Radio, a podcast by Raiders fans for Raiders fans who are the only fans that matter. That's right, Murf and Sonny from the Dago Dungeon. You got it right here, live.
Touchdown! Eddie Stabler goes all the way.
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby. I love this team. I think this team can win. I think this team can win.
Well, Murf, welcome in to episode number 61 of Raiders Fan Radio. This is the Rodney Hudson episode, and Al, maybe the Raiders will start winning a little more. We're bringing your boy back, Mr. Johnny Gruden, and maybe some good things will be happening in the future. Welcome into Raiders Fan Radio. I am one half of the dynamic bearded co-hosts here at Raiders Fan Radio, where we're just a couple of fanboys talking about the thing we love the most, which is the Raiders outside of our family. Murf is the other half of this dynamic duo. How you doing today, Murf?
Sonny, I'm doing fantastic. You know, I don't drink anymore, but I am nursing a food hangover. While I've only had like coffee and some celery and carrots today, I had my illegal share of chocolate chip cookies and ice cream last night, and I'm sure if you were to measure my chocolate content of my blood, it would register well above the legal limit. But so outside of that food hangover, I'm doing fantastic. What a weird freaking day. What a weird freaking season. What a weird freaking way to end 2017, man. Like craziness.
Murf, we'll get into all that and more on this episode of Raiders Fan Radio. If you're new to the show, me and Murf were both born in the Bay Area, moved out. I'm in Oregon. He's in Tennessee. We love our Raiders, and we like to talk about the Raiders. We're not analysts. We're just blind loyalist fans who love the team and definitely have opinions on the team as well. Uncle Mark is our uncle in real life. Sometimes we claim him on the internet, but most of the time he's just Uncle Mosh. And he provides a lot of voiceovers for our show. So without any further fondue, Uncle Mosh, where can people find out more information about our show?
Hey, boys and girls, this is Uncle Mosh. That's right. Somebody actually claims Sonny and Murf. These two. Check them out on their website, RaidersFanRadio.com. You can friend them on Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio, or you can like their fan page at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Hey, I don't tweet. I don't even know how to use a Twitter, but they do. You can tweet them at Raiders Fan Radio. Call them. Leave a voicemail if you want. Go old school. 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Hey, do this. Please subscribe and rate Raiders Fan Radio on iTunes. You can listen to the show on all podcast services like Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and many, many more. Okay, am I done? Did I say all the stuff I was supposed to say? All right, I'm out of here.
Thank you, Uncle Mosh, for that lovely sounding voice on the commercial break there. All right, Murf, we are live streaming our episode via Facebook. I blasted it out there to a lot of groups. If you're on the chat, we'll be reading your chat. We won't be responding to it via typing, as it takes away from the quality of our show. But we will be checking out your comments and stuff like that. On the show this week, we're going to jump into a brief season recap of the season, of probably the most disappointing season I have been a part of in all of my Raider fandom. After that, we're going to jump into the segment we call See a Fan's Mailbag, which is where we listen to you guys. You guys, the fan, just like us, from around the country. You call in, you voice your frustrations, you voice your concerns, and we vent, and we have a little catharsis moment, and we're all better afterwards, right? Following that, Murph, we're bringing back a new but old but new segment, one of my personal favorites, called the Big Stupid of the Week. And that is where me or Murph, we nominate somebody, typically on the Raiders or typically in the sports realm, because they were stupid, and they need to be called out for it. So who better to call them out than two people who are well-equipped at doing stupid things? We will call them out for Big Stupid of the Week. Following that, Murph always has an interesting black hole of the internet, and I'll let him talk about what that is.
That's right. Deep into the annals, buddy. Oh, you want me to talk about what?
Yeah. What's your black hole? What's your black hole of the internet? Come on, now.
So the black hole is a random fact, right? Like, you find yourself late at night or whatever it may be. You're on the we'll just call it the crapper, and you're digging around on Facebook, and it makes you think of something, and you start Googling things, and you end up going down the rabbit hole or the black hole of the internet. And so I come up with a fun, interesting fact that usually just throughout the course of the week I think of something, and then it takes me down into the annals. And so there you go. So that's what the black hole of the internet is.
Yes. Murph, couple show notes real quick. Moving forward, starting next week, we'll be recording the show on Friday or Saturday and then putting out the podcast early Sunday morning. Because there's no more Raider football, we should at least give you Raiders podcast on Sunday. Actually, Murph, we'll probably wait until after the Super Bowl, huh? Then we'll start doing that once it's like off season, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and because we want to be able to equip our listeners with something to listen to on Sunday, because Sonny, it may be a little known fact that we are the most mowed to Raider podcast in the country.
The most mowed to podcast in the country. We take pride in that. Our trophies will be here in no time at all. We're waiting for Jeff Haskins, our good friend at Dead Pirate Sports, to make us a trophy for the most mowed to podcast. Also, Murph, next week, big show announcement. Next week, we are bringing in the often heralded, often attempted duplicated, but never 100% mastered. That's right. I'm talking about the one and only RFR Fannies. Murph, what the heck are the RFR Fannies?
Much like the NFL has its honors, here on Raiders Fan Radio, the RFR has its fannies. That's right. This is our fan awards, where we go through and we hand out and no announced categories, because we don't want to give any spoilers out. No. We will have a list of categories where we will give out the fannies, and that's basically it's our year-end awards here on Raiders Fan Radio.
One award, I'll give a little insight to what the RFR fannies will be. One award might be something along the lines of this: best receiver at not blocking on the front side of a defender. That may be an award for the RFR Fannies next week, but you have to tune in and see. And so it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, Murph, let's get into this, huh? Let's dive into what I think might be the most disappointing season of all time.
You want to dig into it with the sea of fans, or you want to do something else?
Let's jump into it real quick, just me and you.
Okay.
All right, Murph. Coming into the season, the expectation was high, and we've all talked about this. But since we're going to recap it, let's recap.
Yeah.
Preseason, we were all like, "This is the greatest team ever. We're coming off a 12-4 year. Jack Del Rio's our guy. McKenzie knows what he's doing. Carr's our leader on offense. Mac's our leader on defense. We got this in the bag. We're going to score 40 points a game. Our defense is going to be good enough. Travis Johansenberg carry is going to carry us. Sean Smith's going to lock down everybody else. We got this." First two games, right off the bat, we're like, all right, things are going good. This is what we expected. Lynch is dancing on the sideline of the Jets game. It was like the greatest thing ever, right? Then the anthem thing happened. Then the Washington game happened. And then we lost 4 in a row. Lost a heartbreaker against the Broncos. Lost another heartbreaker against the Chargers. And basically from that point on, it was just like, who is this team? What's their identity? Are we going to even make the playoffs? Do they even deserve to be in the playoffs? If they even make the playoffs, do we want them to be in the playoffs? Carr was never looking like Carr. What was up with Cooper? Lynch wasn't as productive as we thought. The defense was awful, but the offense was even worse. And then all of a sudden the season was just confusing and frustrating. We were calling a hook and ladder on a third and 12 from our own 30. It just became a season of confusion and frustration. And then we beat the Chiefs in a crazy ending. What was we scored 4 touchdowns and only one of them counted there at the end, right? It was a crazy game that gave us a little bit of hope once again, right? It was like the girl who says she won't want to date you, but she texts you late at night just to give you enough hope to come back, right, Murf? So we beat the Chiefs, then we lose a couple more games, and then then we go into the Chiefs game at their stadium with the playoff implications on the line, first place in the AFC West on the line. You'd think there'd be no better game for the Raiders to get up and show a sense of pride in, and we lay an egg. We don't get up, we don't show pride, and we're not even present in the game. And then after that, it was like, all right, this team ain't gonna do nothing. Played the Cowboys, Carr's famous dive to the end zone, didn't happen. Played the Eagles. Awful, and the rest is history, right? And then last night against the Chargers, started out, all right, we're up 10-7, maybe this is the game, Carr to Cooper. Where was that rainbow pass from Carr to Cooper all season, right? That was the most beautiful thing we've ever seen and stuff, I posted on Facebook, I had a freaking eyegasm when I watched it, right? And so, we've seen flashes, but obviously it just didn't work, and it just never worked throughout the entirety of the season. The overall frustration of every voicemail we've received has just been, what the hell happened? Like for me, this was the most disappointing season I've ever been a part of because the expectations were so high. In the past, when I knew the Raiders sucked, my hopes weren't at an all-time high, so I didn't really care what happened, right? I was happy if we were competitive for 4 quarters. Typically, we were out after 2 quarters, right? But this season was supposed to be different. This was supposed to be the year. This was supposed to be the year we went even farther than we went last year. This was supposed to be the Super Bowl run, unfinished business that last year wasn't. And this year just never turned out to be that way. Whether Jack Del Rio lost the locker room, whether Lynch was making distractions, whether it was Todd Downing and the offensive play calling, who knows, right? All of it played a part. Whether the anthem had a big deal, who knows, right? All of it probably played a little bit of an issue. But the fact is, this season just sucked, man. And as I watched the Chargers game yesterday, typically when I'm watching a Raider game, and it's usually the last game of the year, or, the playoff game last year, typically I'm like, man, I want to savor every moment of this, right? This is the last time I get to watch my favorite team for the next, 6-7 months, play a game. I want to savor this. Last night, man, I was just like, can this be over? Just end? Can this game just end already, It was like, I don't want to watch any more of this, man. So for me, Murph, when I think back of the 2017 season of the Raiders, I'm just going to think frustration and massive disappointment. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think I echo a lot of your sentiments, and I think that Raider Nation would as well. When you look at the dysfunction that happened in this football team, I think that the reason it was such a letdown was because it felt like we were past all of that stuff. We were supposed to be past the dysfunction. Once Al, rest in peace, once he passed on and Mark took control of the team and essentially gave it to Reggie McKenzie. Mark's a pretty hands-off owner. He gave control of the team to Reggie McKenzie, who was a hands-off GM, who then gave, control of outside from personnel decisions, gave control of the team to Dennis Allen, and then, ultimately Tony Sperano, and then now Jack Del Rio. So when those things happen, Reggie got us healthy from a cap perspective. He got us incredibly healthy from a personnel perspective. You could argue that it's one of the healthiest we've ever been, especially in recent history. When you look at the amount of young talent we have mixed with veterans, and again, I mentioned the salary cap help. So, anyways, all that stuff, and then with the owners and the GM kind of being hands off and allowing these coaches to run the team on a daily basis, at least from the X's and O's and on the field perspective, you felt like we were at a place where the team was healthy. Like we didn't have weird dysfunctional things happen anymore. We were done with those, the Jamarcus Russell and the overhead projectors and the, you know what I mean? All the different weird, quirky things that have happened to the Raiders, aside from maybe the stadium issue that's lingering. But even that, you may not like what's going on with the Raiders. You may not like the fact that they're moving. But the fact is that it's healthy. They've got a new facility. It's going to be state-of-the-art. The value of the franchise rocketed up. So whether you like it or not, from a business perspective, the freaking team is healthier than it's ever been. So with all that said, then to have all this weird stuff happen, to have the anthem thing happen, to have the Conley thing happen, like the overall messaging of the team with Jack throwing players under the bus, the Crabtree thing with Talib, the big fight, and all of a sudden these dysfunctional things started happening with the team, and we're sitting here going, wait a minute, I thought we were done with that. I thought we were now elevated up with the class of the AFC, with New England, with Pittsburgh, with these teams that we didn't have to worry about all this other BS distracting from the team's ability to play football on Sundays. But sure enough, that's what we got. And then, so we were like right back in that same dysfunctional boat, and it was a freaking drag, man. It was a letdown because, like you said, we had an expectation that this thing was going to be so much better. And not, I want to address. I've read a lot of social media here over the past couple of days, as you have as well, and I know a lot of us are on there venting our frustrations and trying to get a gauge on what's going on with the fan base and what we all think and feel and all that stuff, along with just getting the news of all the stuff that's going on with the team. And I heard a lot of rhetoric about this idea of us being 6-10. And there was some of the media people, which is odd. Some of the reporters are talking about how, Raider Nation would have been happy with 8-8 before. So, I'm surprised you're so let down. Well, but what about the context? And that's something that you said, and I think is key to all this, is what's the context? The context is that when you're 2-14 and then, you have an 8-8, that's moving in the right direction. But when you're coming off 12-4 and you're set up, by all accounts, set up to be one of the best teams in not only the AFC but of football, and then you turn in 6-10, that's all, and you're dysfunctional along the way, that's a whole nother story, man. That's a whole nother story, and that's the reason that we're so let down. That's the reason why we're ready for this thing to freaking just be over. That's the reason that it's such a big deal, because we're not coming off of 2-14 and dysfunction. We're coming off a really healthy 12-4, and aside from our quarterback getting hurt, could have been much more than even that. So, I think that we're all confused. I think that we're all hurt as fans, in perspective, hurt for our team, and just disappointed, man. Let's let down. This season just fell with a thud, man, and it happened so early. I think that the Kansas City game in Kansas City was all you needed to know. That was it. But but this started in week 3, man, and it never really kind of, aside from the one Kansas City win in Oakland, as you mentioned, aside from that, there was just I feel like whatever and you've been saying it for a long time, that something happened with the team in the locker room or whatever it is. You don't know. It really doesn't matter, but something happened from a chemistry perspective. And they never recovered. They just never recovered. And their Jack's lack of ability, we'll get more about Jack in a minute, but his inability to then recover the group and recover the room and to get them to refocus, that's what cost him his job. That's what it was. Your job as the head coach is to manage the overall culture of the organization at the field level. And he couldn't do that. He lost them. He completely lost them for whatever reason. And I'm not saying that anybody else could have done it, but he's the guy with the job and the title, so he was the one that was held accountable for it. But, man, something funky. It was just a funky year, Sonny. This was not a fun year to be a Raider fan, frankly. I mean, other than I'll reflect back on something positive. Week 1 was fantastic. We did a live remote from Nissan Stadium. We met a lot of our collaborators and friends of the show. We met some new folks. We saw the Raiders go in there.
I'm wearing my Jimmy Z-Box shirt right now, man. I'm wearing my Jimmy
there
Z-Box
you go,
shirt
man.
right now.
You know, and we saw our team go in there and kick ass on the road against the team that did make the playoffs this year. You know, so that was great. I really enjoyed Week 1. Week 2 was fun watching it, you know, the Marshawn thing and all that. But ever since then, man, just let down. And then one last thing I want to say, and I'm kind of switching gears a little bit here.
You actually have a last thing you want to say?
I know, right? Last thing here is I watched yesterday. I had both the Titans game and the Raider game on at the same time. And the reason why is because the Titans had something to play for. They live right down the street from me, so I support them when they're not playing the Raiders. Tell me I'm not a real fan all you want, but I you know, heck, if it's not conflicting with my Raider fandom, then, you know, whatever. I'll support the team. They're local. So I was watching both games because they had to win to get in, right? That was the Titans thing, was win to get in. They had to beat the Jaguars, who a lot of people are you know, by all accounts, putting them as one of the better teams in the AFC. I know it sounds weird calling the Jaguars that. But anyways, the Jaguars were dominant this year. Jaguars have, their defense is insane. So you're watching that game. At the same time, I had it on split screen. The Titans and Jaguars, the Raiders and Chargers. There you couldn't see more different of an effort and a difference in culture between those two teams. When you look at the way that Marcus Mariota was grinding and fighting and putting the team on his back, and Derrick Henry and their line and all these guys and their freaking, you name it, all facets of the game, these guys were scrappy and grinding and digging and flying to the football and all the things that we expected the Raiders should have done in Kansas City, that they should have done yesterday. The first time back in Los Angeles in 23 goddamn years, you think they would have been inspired by that at a minimum. So the fact that you have these two different cultures going on at the same time and watching them, that, again, it tells you all you need to know about the failure of the Raiders this year. And look, the Titans don't have some A-grade coaching staff. They have a questionable coaching staff as well. Terry Rubisky's been under fire all year long as an offensive coordinator. Everybody questions Mike Mularkey. There's a lot of questions about that team and the way that organization is ran as well. So they have the same problem the Raiders do. But yet the team itself, when it came down to it and they had something to play for, they battled and they fought and they scrapped. Where have the Raiders done that at all this year? Where? Not at all. One time against Kansas City and Oakland. That's it. So that's the fault of the coach. That's the fault of the overall culture of the organization. Okay, now I'm done.
All this said, Murph, I thought Mark Davis did jack wrong. I don't think I've ever watched a press conference immediately following a game where a coach basically had to announce his own firing. I as much as we didn't like what Del Rio did during this year, we didn't like the fact that he was throwing players under the bus a lot. You know, there was a lot of fault I'll put on Del Rio. But that said, he still is the guy that's going to get credited with helping turn this franchise around. For the last 3 years, he's given us an identity. He gave us, you know, a 12-4 year. You can't take that away from him. But for him to have to get up there and announce his own firing, you know, we all expected it. I expected today to wake up and hear Del Rio's gone.
We talked about it on the show
coming out. Yeah, right. I mean, really.
Yeah.
You know, Gruden was fired Saturday when all the rumors started coming out about Gruden. Or I'm sorry, Jack was fired Saturday when all the rumors started coming out about Gruden. So for him to even have to coach that game with all that stuff in the back of his head, that set the Raiders up for failure right there, right?
Yeah.
Dysfunction, whatever. You know, coaches kind of know when they're going to be gone, but this was a little more of a isolated incident because of the Gruden factor. But the fact that he had to get up there and announce his own firing, but I'll tell you this, Murph, I respect that man a whole lot more after watching that, because to see him stand up there, stand tall, he didn't come out there and whine, he didn't complain, he didn't bash Mark Davis, he didn't bash Reggie. He stood there like a man and said, "Yep, I got told this is what's going to happen. Thank you for the opportunity. This was my childhood team." And, man, that just made it personal, because I think sometimes as fans, we're just like, F Crabtree, F Carr, F Jack Del Rio. We just want to F everybody, right? Not in the sexy way, though. We're just like, F all these guys, right?
Yeah.
But at the end
Not
of the
that
day,
there's anything wrong with that. That's how you get down.
That's what you do.
That's all right.
That's what you do. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they're people. And yesterday, I seen Jack Del Rio not as the disappointing coach of my favorite team. I seen him as a human being.
Yeah.
And I seen him as a man who maybe had his dream realized, right? When he said he loved the opportunity to coach his childhood team, I just was like, man, what would it be like to coach the Raiders and get fired? Like for me, like that would be that would suck, man. But as a man, I respect him, dude. I respect him greatly for standing tall in the face of adversity, for not bashing Davis and McKenzie, and doing what he needed to do in the moment. Holding back tears, right? I mean, that was sad. That was a sad deal. And then it was just like, they just fired him like that? Like Davis just like walked down there, wiped his face with the Cheetos he was just eating, and walked down there and just freaking canned him like ruthless. So part of me was like, all right, Marky, if this is how you're going to roll, let's roll, baby. But then the other half was like, man, I respect Del Rio, man. And I think you have to think that way, don't you?
Yeah, I think that he definitely is. Look, he's a stand-up guy. We'll give him that. That said, he's also still arrogant. He still has no control of the locker room. He still has questionable decision-making. And, look, he got fired with 6 minutes left to go in the third quarter. When you are down 13 and you have an opportunity to kick a field goal from like 35 yards out, I don't remember the exact yardage, but save your tweet. But when you got a chance to kick a field goal and go down 10 then with 6 minutes left in the third quarter and the entire fourth quarter to play, that's what you do. And instead, they went for it on 4th and 2nd. And not only did they go for it on 4th and 2nd, they pitched the ball backwards and
from a shotgun offset
to turn it into a 4th and 6. That was the stupidest. And you look up at Davis, and he's like, "What is going on?" And he's holding up fingers like, "Why aren't we going for 3?" And you know what? Raider Nation was right with you, Mark Davis, because here's the thing about Mark Davis: he's the biggest Raiders fan on the planet. There's no arguing that. He is the biggest Raiders fan there is, and so he's going to act accordingly. When you watch Mark Davis watch a Raider game, he's watching it just like you and I watch a Raider game, and you listening, but he's on times 9,000. Like that's how invested he is. So when you and the rest of us are looking at this thing going, this is crazy, why are we doing this? Don't you know that's going through Mark's head as well? And that look on his face told us all we needed to know. I was like, that's it, he's done. Like that, Jack is not going to see.
Yeah, Jack's done.
Jack's done. And so Mark went down, and so, look, yes, I respect the heck out of Coach for standing up, taking it like a man, and owning it, and being forthcoming. And that was a very courageous thing to do. That was a brave thing to do, to go out in public and have to answer that and address that on the spot like that. He could have easily dipped out. He didn't have to fulfill that obligation to the media, and so for that, absolutely, he gets respect from me and should be from everybody for that. But that doesn't excuse the reason that we got to this point, and that was what that was what a lot of the conversations I was having folks with on social media was they were kind of bashing Mark for doing this, and I'm like, you know what though, don't put your boss in a position to have to make that call. Like everybody's like, oh, he's been so disrespected. Well, so was the 12-4 football team that got turned into 6-10. That was disrespectful as well. Don't force your boss to make a decision. Don't put him in that position where he's got to make a choice. And look, at the end of the day, Mark Davis is still a Davis. He's still Al Davis's kid. You know what I mean? Like, let's not forget what this guy.
And judging by his haircut and his food choices and his car choices, he gives 0 Fs.
None.
That's what you think about it.
Exactly. He don't care what you think. That's exactly right. That's exactly. And then to build on that one more. Because he's such a fan and because he cares and loves this team so much, and again, he thinks like a fan, and that's okay as long as it's in, perspective. I don't want to think like a fan like Dan Snyder, but to think of a fan like he does in this situation, it's okay because when he's been going after John Gruden since 2012. Like, this isn't like a new thing. This isn't a knee-jerk thing. This is a guy that recognized when his dad traded away John Gruden, it was a mistake. This is a guy that as soon as he had ownership and control of the team, wanted John Gruden to be his coach. And for various reasons, it never lined up, and it never matched up, and it never worked out. Well, now that he's got a shot at him, if you know that these conversations have been going on long before this, and Jack had probably he probably had numerous times this season to save his job and to have it not be part of the conversation. But once all that stuff went down, once Gruden got his new, broadcast partner in McDonough, and the rumors are that he's not, thrilled with that, and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of things, but now it's starting to create the perfect storm. And so once that happened, Jack, bye. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like Mark wasn't going to waste his time anymore with Del Rio in that moment. He was like, that's it. You're done. Ball game. Let's move on. So anyways, none of it is good. None of this is good. It's all bad. And things always end badly. Otherwise they wouldn't end, right? Like if things weren't bad, then they wouldn't end. We wouldn't be having these conversations if things didn't go wrong. So stuff went wrong. People were held accountable, and now you got to freaking move on, man. And this is the most cutthroat business there is, practically.
So are we? And we can save all this for next week and stuff like that. 'Cause I'm sure this will be a topic of conversation until it happens. Give me your 30-second take on Gruden.
The team had a period
on them hiring Gruden.
Yeah, the team has had a period of ineptness since 1983. They won the division in 1985, 1990, I believe, and then the 3 years that Gruden was there. Outside of the Gruden years, when you look at the history of the Oakland/Los Angeles Raiders, they have not been successful nor competitive year in, year out, other than when Gruden was here. So the idea that this guy could come back and bring an all-star staff with him to reinvigorate our franchise and to take advantage of the talent we currently have on the team, I am 100% all for it, and I think that it would be silly to disparage the idea.
I am cautiously optimistic at the hiring of Gruden. I don't like the fact that we're reaching back in time to try to relive the glory days of the early 2000s, if you will. Gruden has a lot of question marks around him. While his name is often thrown around as a coaching guru, when you look at his numbers, they're not that great. There's the issue of, did he win with Tony Dungy's players and system, or did he actually win it himself? His defensive side of the ball, coaching-wise, is not that great. His offensive side has been great. There's some trepidation on my part around Gruden. Part of me thinks this is an emotional play for Raider Nation to simply say, hey, here was Lynch, everybody. Yeah, here's Lynch. Hey, here's Gruden. Yeah, here's Gruden. Like part of me feels that it's a little bit of this.
Yeah.
And part of me makes me wonder, Murph, is this the new version of the Raiders? If we're going to Vegas, Vegas is all about the show, man. Vegas is 100% about the show. And you bring in a 6-10 team with the coach who nobody knows, you're not going to draw a lot of seats. You bring in a 6-10 team with Gruden, people are going to show up. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't want to hurt everybody's emotional sensitivity around Gruden, and it's Gruden, and he talks tough, and he talks like this, like everybody's infatuated with the distant memory. But what's that phrase? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think we're falling a little victim to this, and I think after the most disappointing nut kicking in season in the history of Raider Nation, to bring in Gruden, good job, Davis. Smart move. What's going to happen though? That's my only question.
Yeah, and I think those are fair questions, and there are a lot of fair questions. You could look at his absence from the game and all that kind of, and there's a lot of, but there are with anybody, and that's the thing is that
sure.
There are questions with everyone, and we've tried the young up and coming head coach. We've tried the guy that had somewhat of a track record.
Who was that young up-and-coming head coach we tried?
Dennis Allen was.
Oh, please. Dennis Allen was.
I'm just saying. You know what look, we tried that. We tried going with the young guy. Heck, we tried it just now with Todd Downing, and it didn't work out. Like, we've tried those things. We tried the guy that was the already established coach in the league. And Jack, look, he probably did the Raiders a solid by taking the job to begin with, because if you remember back then, the Raiders weren't too highly thought of. It wasn't like people were clamoring to be Raider coaches, nor Raider players for that matter. And so, if anything, Jack brought us to a position of relevance to where other coaches and players will be interested in joining the Raiders. But there are questions you could ask about anybody. So if you then take a guy who has a track record, he's got a fondness for the organization, and people as fans have a fondness for him. And if he can come in and be productive and draw a link to the past and give people something fun to root for and all that stuff, why would you not? And that was the same thing that I said about Marshawn, was that, yeah, we know that was an olive branch to the city of Oakland. Yeah, we get it. I think you'd be naive to think anything but that. But he was also productive. And while you mentioned earlier he had that run in the kind of in the middle there where he wasn't all that productive, but whose fault was that? Was that Marshawn's fault, or was that the offense's fault? I don't think that was Marshawn's fault, because when we see Marshawn have a chance to be Marshawn, he looks like freaking Marshawn. Like he does great. In fact, he was
fun to watch.
He's fun to freaking watch, and he was one of the most productive parts of our offense yesterday. And even with all, so I think
that's my question though, Murf. That's my question. Is this team just going to be a show now? Come watch Gruden. Come watch Lynch. Come watch whoever it is that's just going to make us the show, or are we actually going to be like a respectable franchise?
Hey, if it equates to W's, I don't care as a fan, and I don't think Mark Davis cares either. Get us ring up to some W's, get it into double digits in the left column, and we're fine. And so when you look at, and this is all wide speculation here, but just to throw this out there because I think it's interesting. You talk about Gruden coming back as a head coach. You're talking about him bringing Bill Callahan back as an offensive coordinator with Gruden still.
Which I am opposed of to the umpteenth degree.
But Gruden's going to be calling the plays, so you don't have to worry about. Callahan's going to be one running practice.
Callahan sabotaged our freaking Super Bowl, dude.
But
how the hell could you be okay with Callahan coming back?
He didn't sabotage it. He was an idiot because
he did.
He didn't change up the game plan because freaking and Gruden knew that and took advantage of it and destroyed us. But the guy look, Gruden is a student of football, period, and so is Callahan. And so to have Callahan there as an offensive mind to break down film and allow Gruden to call plays on Sunday, I think it's a perfect setup. And you're talking about retaining Mike Tice to run the offensive line, bringing in Gannon to be a quarterback coach, and then here's the kicker, though. There's a lot of names that are going to get thrown out there, and again, this is all just speculation, but I think if this is even remotely close to the idea of where we're going, he's talking about bringing in, or at least the talk is that he's talking about bringing in Gus Bradley to run the defense. Now, look, Gus Bradley kind of flamed out a little bit as a head coach, but like we know about a lot of coordinators, they are fantastic coordinators, but they're not great head coaches. Gus Bradley is a freaking rock star when it comes to being a defensive coordinator. Look, we see what he did already with the San Diego team just this last year, but all you got to do is go and look at the production that he had when he was with Seattle. And this guy's responsible for the Legion of Boom, okay? Any of the defensive production that team had and how it's fallen off since his departure, I mean, the guy's a stud. So if Gruden is cognizant enough to go, all right, look, I'm not a defensive guy. I need a defensive expert. Let me handle the offense and let me bring in a guy to handle the defense and be a defensive expert. Come on, man. Like, how can we as fans be opposed to this? Like, this is great stuff, man. Again, it's all just talk, but sheesh. If it's half true, good. That's all of that is better than where we're at today.
You have to think it's true because do you think Davis cans Del Rio?
No.
2 seconds after the game is over? If he doesn't know that Gruden is there. But then here's the other issue, Murf. What NFL team was prominent in helping, in being culturally sensitive of the day, right? The Raiders have always been known, at least previously, been known as that team to be bigger than themselves when it comes to culture and race issues and stuff like that. But they're going to make a mockery of the Rooney Rule. Right? You know what I'm saying, man?
Easy with the mockery. Easy with
they
mockery.
Are, dude.
No,
they are.
No, they're not.
How are they not? If Gruden is already being championed as the coach, Schefter said it on ESPN yesterday, He's going to be the next head coach.
Okay.
Everybody's already talking about it.
Yeah.
How is that not making a mockery of the Rooney Rule?
Because I'll tell you exactly why. Because
how is it not?
Because they're going to be compliant. The Rooney Rule says that you have to
stop. Exactly. They're gonna, by the letter of the law.
But you're not letting me finish.
By the letter of the law, they're gonna do it, but they're not actually gonna take it into consideration. Dude.
Now, stop jumping off on your conclusions and focus on reality. Okay. The reality of the Rooney Rule is that it was to get an audience with people of that are minorities, right? Anybody that normally wouldn't get an audience with an NFL owner, the Rooney Rule guarantees they're going to get an audience, okay? So what does that mean then? So if you've already got your candidate and he's a white guy, how can the Rooney Rule then benefit somebody that's a minority? Well, I'll tell you how. Is that somebody like what is his name, Tyrell Williams, somebody like that, somebody that's a coordinator that's going to have an opportunity to interview as a head coach. Well, look, there's a lot more interviews than just the team that you're going to go to, and somebody is going to get an opportunity to interview as a head coaching candidate, even if they're not going to be the one that gets identified as the hire. The fact that someone's going to get the meeting will open up so many doors for them. That's what the design of the Rooney Rule is. You're talking about a team with an African American GM, for crying out loud. That's who's going to be doing the interviews here. So let's not pretend like the Raiders are some freaking elitist, racist organization or something that's leapfrogging.
I'm not saying.
All right. Well, when you say mockery, that's what you're talking about. This is a team that Al Davis was a champion of this freaking thing, along with Rooney.
Yes. Back then, yes.
Yes.
In this situation, they're mocking it.
No, that's not a mockery. Get over yourself. It's not a mockery. They're gonna honor it, and someone is going to get an opportunity that, who knows, maybe wouldn't have been there before, and that's the intent of it. That's the intent.
Congratulations, you get to interview with no chance of getting the job. Congratulations.
Do you have any idea how the corporate world works? You know how important it is to get an interview? You know how big of a deal that is? It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal that you get in.
Now when you have no hope of getting the job, it's like, I don't know, it's a mockery. I don't know. I don't like it.
Well, you're wrong. Congratulations.
All right, on that riveting note, let's jump into the Sea of Fans mailbag.
There he is, fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's tied, he throws. It is. Oh, he caught it.
All right, Sonny, for this week in the Sea of Fans mailbag, we are going to start off by headed out to up in your neck of the woods there, up in Yakima, Washington, and hear from our buddy Red.
Sonny, Murf, Red up here in Yakima. Happy New Year, huh? 2 holiday games and 2 horrific games. That was horrible. I don't know what's up with Krabs. I hope he was injured and then just sit out because he ain't got no heart. Because if that's the situation, we could deal him off this off season. We don't need that on the team. Communication was horrible in the backfield. Horrible. I think it would be nice to see Mike Tice promoted to OC and demote Downing or just get rid of him, period. It'd be nice to go for a wide receiver in the first round and, get rid of Krabs and we could use his money somewhere else. Take a wide receiver in number 1 and, go from there. We should have a nice off season, I hope. I don't really know what else to say. Go Raiders.
Go Raiders, Red. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the faithful calling of Red and Yakima.
Yeah.
Been one of our faithful listeners up there. The Crabtree, we're going to go into a little bit, we're going to talk about Crabtree after this segment. And if you were listening to our previous announcements, you would know why Crabtree after this segment, Red.
All right, so next up, thank you for Red for calling. We're going to hear from Red later in the show. So for right now, we're going to go to Diego in Georgia.
Hey, Sonny and Murf, this is Diego from Georgia. I personally didn't watch the game, but I heard all about it on Twitter, and I had a friend that was actually there at the game. Just disappointing, man. It really, really sucks. There are a few bright bright things to talk about, I guess, hey, Marshawn Lynch, he got 10,000 yards. I think that's about it. And Amari Cooper had that good, really good touchdown. But other than that, not much else. I guess it was that head block field goal. Justin Ellis blocked a field goal with his head. But yeah, Vanderdos has the ACL tear. Carl Joseph out for the rest of the game. But, everyone's, at the end, it sucked really bad. 30-10, horrible. Both sides of the ball played horrible. From what I see on the stat lines. Yeah, so, there's nothing you can say about that. And then, Jack Del Rio was fired. On his way to the locker room, might I add, by Mark Davis. And, interesting. I didn't think that was going to happen just because of the money situation. But it happened. Hopefully the Gruden rumors are true. Something interesting, Derek Carr told the media he didn't know that Jack was fired. He actually found out through somebody's phone, which is very telling. That means nobody really knew. Jack, I guess, said, hey, it was an honor to play for his hometown team. But yeah, on to the next one, I guess. And hoping that, this isn't going to turn bad. I hope everything turns out well next season. But embarrassing loss. But Jack Del Rio's gone. Hopefully Gruden comes. And Happy New Year, guys. I guess I'll just listen to the podcast and maybe call in another time. But everyone have a Happy New Year. Go Raider Nation.
Appreciate the call, Diego. Murph, do you think Carr finding out that the guy he's been meeting with every Thursday for the last 3 years, Carr finding out on another player's phone, that was the right way to do it? Could that have been handled better?
Yeah, I think that, again, that with Mark being a fan, if anything was knee-jerk, it was the immediacy of the dismissal, and that, yeah, you want to see people, dealt with a little more respect than that, he probably caught Jack in the hallway or something, you know what I mean, and been like, hey, it's over, you're done. Who knows what that exchange was like, but yeah, and so you would have liked to have seen him, maybe, or McKenzie even. I don't even know if McKenzie was at the game, but see them pull, Carr and Mack and Hudson, some of the leaders of the team to the side and maybe give them a heads up. You would like to have seen or heard something like that, but there's the volatility of the Davis, and that it didn't hapen. So. Yeah, you would like.
Davis is going to Davis.
Davis is going to Davis, and you'd like to see things happen differently. But, again, you force your boss to make a decision. If things didn't go the way that they went, then this wouldn't have happened anyway. So, again, if things end badly because, that's the only way that they're going to end. So, yeah, there's probably a more tactful way to handle it, but sadly it didn't. All right, let's go to our buddy Jim on the East Coast. Jim?
Sonny and Murf. This is Raider Jim from the East Coast. Happy New Year to you all. Happy New Year to the Raider Nation. I take no pleasure in being right in my prediction that the Raiders would finish 6-10.
He called
no
it, man.
pleasure at all.
He did.
The silver lining to the finish of 6-10 is perhaps the rumors of a new coaching staff will be true. I know there's mixed opinions out there about Gruden, but hey, after this year, after what I see again today, with jobs on the line, still unprepared, uninspired football team, something needs to change. We saw a glimpse of the talent with the 87-yard strike from Carr to Cooper, a glimpse of what could be. But it's just not going to work, obviously, in the NFL when you're ill-prepared and you're uninspired. So, Sonny and Murph, I am looking forward to 2018. I am looking forward to 2018 for many reasons, and one reason being this, that the Oakland Raiders will have a new coaching staff, a new direction, and maybe be prepared, maybe be inspired. and maybe win again. Go Raiders! Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jim, for the call. Murph, that might be the most subdued message we've ever heard from our good friend Jim out there on the East Coast, man. He sounds like a deflated Raiders fan. He sounds like we all do right now. Murph, I guess my question for that is, when you're a professional athlete, when you're 23, 24 years old, doing what you've done since you were 5 or 6 years old, when you're making 7 figures, sometimes 10 figures a year, or 8 figures a year, I'm sorry, who's making 10 figures, right? But when you're making that much money, doing the sport you love at the highest level, how much freaking motivation do you need from a coach to get you up for a game? You know what I'm saying, man? That's where I'm like, yeah, okay, coaches, you could do a little more to be inspiring, right? You know, you can get those rah-rah guys in there, you know what I'm saying? Not the Mike Singletaries who pull their pants down or Tony Sopranos who bury a freaking football, you know what I'm saying? But, like, you know, you can get an inspiring coach who gives a cool speech, gets you up for the game. But I'm sorry, man, if you're 24 years old, making 7 figures a year, doing the sport you love, doing the sport that only a few people get to do in the whole entire world, if you can't get up for that on your own, that's the problem with you, not the coach. You know what I'm saying? That said, I am happy. I share the same sentiments as Jim. We're getting a new coaching staff, and things should be a little better moving forward.
I think those are excellent points, and I agree with you. And I had a coach one time tell me that don't depend on your emotion for motivation because emotion is fleeting. And I still think that's true, and it doesn't matter really what you're doing. That if you depend on getting fired up, then eventually that's going to leave you, and then when the emotion leaves you, what do you have left? And in football, you have the game plan. You have your love or your passion for the sport that you're playing. You have your paycheck. Like, you have those things. Those are the things that ultimately you rely on. And while I don't think that football players and coaches should be devoid of emotion, I do think there is a lot to be said for the approach of a Bill Belichick. That, look, you're not going to depend on my fire to motivate you. You're going to depend on the culture of winning that we have developed and the accountability we have to one another. And those are the things that motivate you. Because, Sonny, if I'm accountable to you and you to me, if I don't do my job, I've let you down. That's motivator for me, not my coach screaming at me going, "Come on, let's go, boys." You know what I mean? Like, so I think there's a lot to be said for that. And so we'll see. And, you know, and what do we get out of Gruden? He's kind of a mix, right? Because he's kind of a fiery guy. I'll tell you, something that I thought was funny is that somebody sent us this week. They sent us a GIF of Todd Downing running up and down the sidelines when they scored that touchdown, that 63-yarder to Amari Cooper against Philadelphia. And someone sent that to us and asked us just kind of what we thought. And I thought it's quite a difference when you look at some coaches on the sideline and then you look at Todd Downing, who's running up and down the sideline acting like a maniac because they just scored one touchdown.
Pretend you've been there before, Todd. Pretend you've been there before.
There you go. Absolutely.
You're listening to The Violator, and I'm live on Raider Fan Radio. Where you at, baby?
Sonny and Murf, this is your pal Chuck from the New Jersey chapter of the Black Hole calling in. You guys were probably expecting me last week, but I've just regained feeling in my toes. Chuck Taylors are not optimal footwear for Philadelphia Christmas, whatever below zero it was. So I'm calling now after 2 games, you know, and after a very upsetting and disappointing season. And looks like big changes are coming. I don't know how everybody feels about it. It definitely looks like Gruden is back in the picture. Seems to be almost a done deal, but we'll wait and find out because it's the NFL. And, you know, nothing's a done deal until it's a done deal. I don't know that, look, we make these changes. We've seen it so many times. We get a coaching staff, things don't work out, and then we start all over from scratch again. What happens? You bring in a new head coach, you bring in a new coaching staff, and you're kind of starting over. You got a young team, you got, a few veterans on there, but, you start all over again, new playbook, new schemes. We'll see what happens. I mean, we all want to leave Oakland with a championship. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to see that in Oakland. I don't know if we're going to see it in Vegas for a while. I mean, we're hoping for the best. And, it's disappointing. We're all disappointed, but look, season's over. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens over the course of the next few days, and then we'll see what happens over the off season. And then, we'll kick it into gear next season and see what happens on the field. Hey, it's the Raiders, and we've been down this road so many times that, it is different now with the move happening, and I don't know. I felt Jack did lose control, and obviously something happened, and Jack didn't seem to take much responsibility for it.
And it cut him off. 3 minutes you get from Google Voice.
All right, Chuck, appreciate the call. Yeah, man, wear some boots or something, bro. When you go to Philadelphia for a Raider game on December, man. You look cool, but you feel too cool. Feel too cold. Murph, Chuck's rambling, trying to talk himself into feel better voicemail is basically the essence of how we're all feeling. You know what I'm saying? He just kept going, wow, it's going to be okay. Well, yeah, Chuck, I get it, man.
Some self-soothing going on there, wasn't
there? We're all there, and something definitely happened, but hopefully it's all behind us, and we're moving forward.
That's it. All right, next up, we're going to hear from our buddy Greg in Tennessee.
Hey, this is Greg Peters from Eagleville, Tennessee. I just wanted to call about the Raiders head coaching job availability and talk about the groomers, the John Gruden rumors. Let me tell you, I'm also a Tennessee Vols fan, and let me tell you, he ain't coming to Oakland. He just wants to be courted as a head coach. It's like, that girl you may have dated back in high school or college. She just wanted to be told how pretty she was, and she just wanted you to call her, but she wasn't really interested in dating, you know what I mean? So, anyway, I bought hook, line, and sinker into the groomers about him coming to UT. Let me tell you, he ain't coming to Oakland. And that's all I got to say. Go Raiders.
All right, appreciate that call, Greg. If you weren't aware, Greg is one of our T-shirt models on our website.
That's exactly right.
RaidersFanRadio.com. You can buy a T-shirt of me and Murph's skulls on the shirt. Greg, part of me wants to believe Greg, Murph.
Yeah.
How long has Gruden been courted for? I think absence makes the heart grow fonder. Gruden's brand is jeopardized if he comes into coaching again. If he stays in the booth, despite the record not being that great, he stays this Greek god-like figure to the coaching world. He's going to sacrifice his brand to come back and coach. But if you're getting $10 million, as Matthew points out in the chat, if you're getting $10 million thrown at you, I'm willing to jeopardize my brand for that.
Yeah, that's a great point. When you're talking about that kind of money, man, it certainly motivates your decision making. But he does make a great point, and you do as well. That's this is the first time that we've been down this path with Gruden, with whether it be UT or it be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or now the Oakland Raiders, right? And even more so, there was the Eagles were thrown out, I remember at one point. There's been a lot of people that have gone after John Gruden. That man's phone is ringing every Black Monday when the NFL season ends every single year. So it will definitely be curious to see if this is finally the one that comes to fruition. All right, so our buddy Red called us before Jack Del Rio got fired, and then he called us after.
Sonny, Murf, Red in Yakima again. Sorry for calling twice, guys. But I just caught wind that we fired JDR, and I don't know if that was the right thing to do. I just wanted to get your guys' take on it, and I also was reading something about Mark Davis trying to get Johnny Boy back and give him ownership stake in the team. And what do you guys think about that? So talk to you guys next week. Later, guys.
He's not going to get ownership in the team. That's a rumor that it's not going to happen. Should he have fired Jack Del Rio? Yes.
Hey, so this is Uncle Mosh, and apparently all you got to do to host a podcast is have a microphone, a garage, and a couple of Derek Carr jerseys. Ha! These two did it. You're listening to Raiders Fan Radio with Sonny and Murf.
The discotheque era, Murf. The discotheque.
Let's boogie with Ron.
Boogie with Ron.
What's up, guys? Ron from Alliance. Talked to guys on Facebook. I'm worried the Gruden thing is a PR move, but I'm going to start 2018 positive, and 2017 Raiders are gone, so let's not think about that anymore. I think, maybe Gruden can get some good offensive and defensive coordinators in there if they don't keep Pagano. Super Bowl winning coach. He's taken the team to playoffs multiple times. So let's hope this isn't a PR thing and he can rekindle some of his old magic. I don't know how to feel. I think we're all kind of in the same boat. It's maybe nervous anticipation. I don't know. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Appreciate the call, Ron. Another faithful listener, faithful caller. I think Jeff Haskins, good friend from DeadPirateSports.com, said it best. Maybe it can be both. Maybe you bring in Gruden for the showmanship, and also you bring him in for his coaching stuff. I don't disagree that he will generate views, but like Rodney just posted in the chat, timely, Rodney, show me, don't tell me. Can Gruden still coach? That's my question. Can he still motivate players? Does he know the game? Yes. Can he still coach? That remains to be seen. And frankly, we won't know until week 6 of next year if he is the coach for this year.
I mean, I like our chances with him. He's a student of the game, and we know this, Sonny. No one has continued their study of football and will continue past their next job more and prepare more than John Gruden, right? The stories of him coming in.
I would argue Bill Belichick, but
okay,
go ahead.
Fair enough. So in addition to, right, like those are the 1 and 2 on Mount Rushmore, right, of right now,
sure,
students of the game,
of studying and prepping. And
yes,
stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's go out to Wyoming.
Sonny Murf, yes, Wyoming Raider again.
I love this guy.
What's going on with the coach here? The head coach is gone. You kind of had it coming. I liked having a guy that was a Raider fan, but he didn't have to fire, So I'm not going to talk about the game. We got our asses kicked by the Chargers. Well, we got rumors of Gruden again. Every damn year this time of year we got rumors of Gruden. This time they're talking partial ownership. I don't know. What do you guys think? Everybody loves Chucky. I know I love me some Chucky, but he's been out for 10, 12, 15 years, something like that. I mean, is he still a viable option? He's going to be expensive. I don't know. I'd like to see him back, but is he a good fit? I'd like to see fire again. So, anyway, keep up the good work. I'll talk to you guys later. Go Raiders. Bye.
Appreciate the call, Wyoming Raider. Murph, I always feel like such less of a man when Wyoming Raider calls. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like I'm living this path.
I feel shorter.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel weaker. I feel,
yeah.
I'm on the internet too much. I'm on Facebook too much.
You haven't done enough curls or chopped enough.
I haven't chopped enough
I haven't
wood
cut enough
today,
things in half this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't killed a deer in the last week and gutted it myself. And ate the heart cold. Yeah. Anyway, appreciate the call, Wyoming Raider. Del Rio needed to go. Gruden's coming in. he made a couple points. I forget now.
We'll talk about the ownership. We've had a couple people mention that now. The ownership's been floated out.
That's not going to happen. Here's why that's not going to happen.
Okay.
If Gruden got partial ownership, that would set a precedent in the NFL for every coach coming in now to ask for that. And do you think those stingy freaking owners are going to allow coaches to have partial ownership of their teams? Do you think Jerry Jones is going to allow a coach to have partial ownership of his team? You got to be kidding me, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, it's not going to happen. On top of that, how would a coach ever get fired if he has partial ownership of the team? It just sets up a myriad of issues down the road that frankly makes me think that it's just not going to happen.
Well, I think you're right. I think there's too much conflict potential there when it comes to performance on the field. Now, having partial ownership in teams is not all that uncommon. We see it in Miami with Jennifer Lopez and there's lots.
But not if you're a coach of the team.
But not if you're a coach, and that's the thing is that not if you're an active participant in the thing. And so you're right. That thing can only get messy should there be. What if he comes in and sucks and he goes 2-14 back-to-back years and when we got Mr. Volatile Davis and wants to cut him loose? Well, what do you do if the guy's got ownership in the team? And so I'm with you, but I think that there could be, like you heard it with Elway. Or let me back up. When Elway was courting Peyton, so were the Titans, and I remember the Titans were talking about, because Tennessee, the state and the school is so invested in Peyton Manning, that one of the things they were doing to try to lure him to play for the Titans instead of the Broncos was they were talking about offering him partial ownership, and the same conversations came into play. Was that, well, what if his performance on the field isn't all that great? Then what do you do? But I think that there is a case for some kind of a delayed thing, that have it be contingent on, whether you want to make it on performance or whatever it may be. Because I don't know about Mark Davis, but I don't think he's got kids, does he? Like, when you look at what's the succession plan of Raiders ownership after Mark Davis, I don't know what that is. So is there then something for Gruden down the line? Should anything ever happen to Mark Davis? I don't know. I know he's not married, right? I don't think he's got kids.
John Gruden?
No, Mark Davis.
Oh, Mark? You think somebody would marry that guy?
Right, exactly. So I don't think he's got there's not another Davis in the pipeline.
There's no heir apparent. Yeah.
Yeah. So could that be something that's in the conversation that he's written into the will essentially? I don't know. I wouldn't doubt that those.
Hey. Is Gruden the son Al Davis never had?
Hey, he alienated him, right? Just like a dad would, right? She's traded him away, for crying out loud. I know, right? Oh, well.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to close up shop here in the Sea of Fans mailbag with our buddy Emiliano, the Big Raider Trucker.
Sonny, Murf, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Big Raider Trucker, rolling down southbound on I-5. Headed to Chino, California to make this delivery, and then I'm headed home. Got to thinking about all this John Gruden news, and just want everybody not to get too hyped. We've been here before. And let's just say that we do sign Mr. Gruden. He's not the answer to everything. Once again, let's hop off that bandwagon, that hype train, because look where it got us this year. Super Bowl bound paper champions, baby. Take it one step at a time, Raider Nation. Let's just be calm, relax. Let's deal with this last game. Let's see what they do in the off season. Let's go from there. Let's not fuck the lady cut. Let's deal with that from there. Okay, John Gruden isn't the answer. There's a lot of things that need to be done. And let's just hop off the bandwagon, do what we need to do, and let's take care of the division first, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I'm out of here.
Appreciate the call, Big Raider Trucker. Murf and Uncle Mosh are working hard on your shirt. Murf is taking up sewing skills personally to get you your custom Raiders Fan Radio T-shirt. Appreciate the call.
He's going to put he wants to put Made Man on the back. How cool is that going to be?
Yeah, that's dope, dude. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I kind of side with the Murf. I side with them a little bit that we're all getting this emotional hype over Gruden. When you look at his record, you look at how long he's been out of the league, there's some question marks. This isn't a guaranteed bring in Gruden and we're going to have success. You know what I'm saying? So, let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens.
So I would play the Made Man music because congratulations to everybody that's ever called our show 3 times. We recognize you as Made Men here in the Dago Dungeon. Unfortunately, the Made Man clip that we have has the song Layla in it from Goodfellas, and it gets us blocked on YouTube. So I'm not going to play the music until we get a new intro made up. We'll enlist the services of our one Uncle Mosh and his sick voiceover skills to come in and do a new Made Man intro. But so thank you to all of you Made Men, newly crowned and already existing Made Men here in the Dago Dungeon. We certainly appreciate you.
Hey, Murf.
Oh, go ahead.
When you're a 45-year-old man, you shouldn't say sick, bro.
Well, come on. I said real, recognize real last show, and you let me slide on that one. Here we go.
You're listening to Raiders Fan Radio with Sonny and Murf.
I'm 44.
Podcast by Raiders fans for Raiders fans.
All right, Murf. We're doing our own Gruden here. Years ago, we had a segment called Big Stupid of the Week. It was for this podcast we did called the Sports Dagos, where we just nominated somebody throughout the whole entire sports realm who was the Big Stupid of the Week. And we want to bring it back because we like the segment. So here is the first edition of Big Stupid of the Week for Raiders Fan Radio.
Stupid, a person below normal intelligence.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Stupid is, stupid does, sir.
What are you, stupid or what?
Are you stupid or something?
Like saying something stupid like... Boy, you too stupid to do what your coach tells you?
No. No what?
Oh, yeah. All right, Murf. This week's nomination for Big Stupid, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this. This goes to Crabtree, man. Crabtree's had an interesting run with the Raiders. You know what I'm saying? He's been here for 3 years now. Came in back in 2015, 85 catches in 2015, 89 catches in 2016, 58 catches in 2017. We watched his catch percentage increase the first 2 years. It at 58% in 2015, 61% 2016, and it dropped down to 57% this year, which is the lowest of his career with the Raiders. The last couple of games, Murf, Crabtree in the offense has basically been irrelevant. When you look at his catches or his targets over the last 2 games, against Philadelphia, he had 3 targets, and against the Chargers, he had 2 targets. When you look at the Dallas game and the Kansas City game that preceded these 2 games, against Dallas, he had 17 targets, and against Kansas City, he had 13 targets. In both of those games, he only caught 7 passes. Several times this year, you could see the frustration on his face, and I won't really fault him for this. When he was running 2-yard out patterns, getting the ball thrown to him, you could see it starting to happen with Crabtree versus any other receiver. You've seen his disgust, and you've seen him just completely frustrated with this offense. The last 2 games, he's had 3 targets and then 2 targets against the Chargers. In Philadelphia, he didn't have a catch, and I believe it was the first time in his career that he's actually played in and not had a catch. Then, after the game yesterday, he basically kind of not went off, but basically spoke his mind a little bit about the frustrations with the team, frustrations with the coaches, saying he only played 10 plays, yada, yada, yada. I think Crabtree's done in Oakland, and here's why. We owe him $8 million next year with no dead money. I believe, how old is he going to be next year? He's 30 right now, so he'll be 31 when the season starts next year. And we owe him $8 million. I believe in the offseason we're going to sign Khalil Mack. So I'm not sure Crab comes back, man. And quite frankly, I think I'm over him. At one point, he was our go-to. I mean, last year, what started last year? The 2-point conversion against the Saints that Crabtree pulled down on the 50-50 ball in the end zone, the fade route, right? That started the whole entire run of last year. However, something seems to have happened where Crabtree's kind of fallen out of with the offense. We know Cooper's a mainstay, but even Cooper's targets have dropped, right? So Cooper against Philly and against the Chargers had 4 targets against Philly and 6 targets against the Chargers. Seth Roberts had 6 targets against Philly and 6 against the Chargers, and Cook had 2 targets in Philly and 4 against the Chargers. So it wasn't like Crabtree, maybe he was purposely not being thrown to, but looking at everybody else, it wasn't like a lot of people were getting thrown the ball simply because their offense was just lackluster, right? When you only scored 10 points in both those last 2 games, not a lot of people are getting balls thrown their way, you know? All that said, I think Crabtree has kind of played his hand a little bit. I think he's voiced his frustration a little too much, and I think he might have alienated himself with the offense. That said, that's not even his biggest fault, and I'll let you describe the biggest fault.
Well, you can't go to the side. You can't pull yourself out of the game, essentially quit on your team, and then go to the sideline and mouth and I don't know what he was mouthing at, but it didn't look like he wasn't making fun of people. Like, he was basically being openly critical of the football team, openly critical of maybe Carr or the coaches or all of them or whatever. At some point, when you're a 30-year-old man and you've already have a legacy in this league and dollars that have been made and all that, you got to have a certain amount of professionalism to you. And look, I get football's an emotional sport, and we talked about emotion just a little bit ago, but to have it expressed like that, it makes me then understand why people like Aqib Talib, people like Richard Sherman have such a problem with this guy. And, you know, when you look at when people hate Michael Crabtree, other players hate Michael Crabtree, and I'm not overusing that word. I don't like that word, frankly, but it's the truth. People can't stand this guy, and why is that? It's because there's something about him, something about his, arrogance or his attitude or his demeanor, what he's saying, something that we aren't aware of, that these guys that are playing with him and against him on a regular basis are aware of. Also evidence last year with we railroaded Marquette King for taking that picture with Aqib Talib that was mocking Michael Crabtree, with getting his chain snatched. Well, don't you think if him and Michael Crabtree were all that tight, or if Michael Crabtree was some, stalwart in the locker room, that maybe Marquette King wouldn't have done that? Doesn't it draw a little bit of a different perspective on that now that, maybe the guy's a chump, and so he's making fun of him because he's a chump? And Marquette King doesn't have the filter to be able to say, it's probably bad taste, I'm not going to do that. Instead, he just takes a shot at the guy because maybe Krabs is a jerk to him in the locker room. When you see all these things put together, I didn't like Crabtree when he was a Niner. I don't like the Niners anyways, let alone a guy like that. And all the crap he used to get into with Sherman and all that, which, Richard Sherman is not on my most fond of players list either, but there was a reason.
Maybe he was on to something.
He was on to something. That's the point. Mm-hmm. That's the point. Maybe Talib, as much of a moron as Talib is, maybe he's on to something.
Maybe he was on to something too,
Yeah.
And that's what I think. I was thinking about it. You look at the Raiders' year, they're 6-10, they're not making the playoffs. So on one hand, okay, I get it. Take yourself out of the game. You don't want to get hurt, but I don't respect that. I think it's maybe smart, longevity, protecting yourself long term. I get that. But I don't respect that. And if I as a fan don't respect that, how many NFL players are going to respect that? You know what I'm saying, Murph? So, Crabtree gets the first big stupid of Raiders Fan Radio. Congratulations, Crabtree.
Congratulations,
big
Mike.
Stupid. You big stupid.
We have a go for main engine start. And we have main engine start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery.
Hello, I'm astronaut Jose Hernandez, and you're listening to Sonny and Murf on Raiders Fan Radio.
Good friend of the show, Jose Hernandez, who you can find in many Modelo commercials on TV right now.
Absolutely.
All right, Murph. Every week you bless us with the annals of your black hole experience on the internet, and we are looking forward to another one of these.
Sonny, I didn't have to go far for this one. Look, it's a holiday weekend. We've had 2 holiday weekends in a row. I didn't even have a black hole last week. But with all of the Gruden speculation going on, I would be remiss if I didn't do something that had something to do with John Gruden this week. And so that's what led us to this week's edition of the Black Hole.
Murph's Black Hole of the Internet.
Journey that begins where everything ends.
If you're a regular listener of this show, it is not a mystery that we are very fond of NFL films and the work that NFL Films has done over the years. It's some of my favorite programming. I love it, and especially in the off season, I watch it a lot. And so they are also famous for miking up players and miking up coaches. And they've mic'd up John Gruden numerous times over the years. They've mic'd him up when he was an assistant with the Eagles and also with the Packers. And, of course, when he was the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the best of the John Gruden mic'd up moments from NFL Films came when he was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And so I have just a couple minutes worth of clips here from John Gruden as head coach of the Oakland Raiders. It doesn't feature any of the other NFL Films work. This is exclusively when he was head coach of the Oakland Raiders.
Are you nervous? Huh? Really, are you? Man, you gotta get a cheat sheet or something. That's terrible. That'll kill it. We're not posing for football cards now, offense. We're not posing for football cards. Let's play with some speed. Plays on this script are the plays that are coming. Here's the answers to the test now. Huddle up, huddle up, huddle up. You know, Gennaro, it's always the same 2 guys, man. It's always the same 2 guys. Do it again. Do it again. We'll finish last in the league in penalties. Call my brother and see how they do it in arena football. Don't take all day now, Z. Don't take all day now.
I love it, man. You love football, don't you, John?
You gotta have the right demeanor, man. You gotta have the right demeanor. Break the huddle with the right demeanor all day. You run right by his ass. Scare him to death. I got a reputation to try and live up to also.
Regular.
I mean, I am one hot mother. That's holding, man. That is holding. Holding. Take him back. Take him back. I like this rep. Always like this guy.
How about those Raiders, man?
Fake 99 toss crunch, naked right. Go red right, 24 Falcon. Hurry up. You guys like this?
Cannon dropping back. He loops one end zone. Rising.
Yeah. That's intentional grounding. What's the rule? Right there. Atta baby. Well done.
There's just nothing there.
There's just nothing there tonight. Try something else. You're never going to get this year back in your life. You're never getting it back. Whether you're an 8-time Pro Bowler or a no-time Pro Bowler like me. If you're late for work, if you're out of shape, if you're not knowing what to do, you're going to never, ever be able to live with yourself. So you guys got a chance to do some good things.
Fires me up, Sonny. Bring him back.
Good, baby. Emotionally, I'm all in on Gruden, man. Emotionally, I am there. As Matthew says in the chat right now, you got to have a little crazy because you need to be a Raider. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's good to have that in there. And, like, don't get me wrong, man. I love Gruden. I'm just trying to, you know, with the sense of, you know, grain of salt here, what's going to, you know. But Gruden's cool, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be hella fun. And really, Carr needs that.
Yes.
Carr needs somebody to get on his ass, man, because Carr's a good guy, nice guy, love what he's all about, love all that stuff, but he needs somebody to be on his ass. And Downing wasn't that guy. Musgrave was, and look how good Carr did under Musgrave. The thing that sucks, Murph, that you know, we need to have stability. So if we bring Gruden in, let's commit to Gruden for 5 years at least. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Now, with Gruden or whoever the next coach is, that will be the 4th coach in 5 years for Derek Carr. He had Sperano and Allen his first year, Del Rio the last 3, and now he's going to have a new coach next year. That's 4 different coaches in 5 years. We have no consistency. Look at the Steelers. Look at the Patriots. They have consistency, and they are consistently in the running for the AFC Championship every single year, as they are this year as well. And those are 2 of my most hated freaking teams,
Yeah.
but they get consistency. You know what I'm saying? They get consistency. And
Well,
so
but
if
and
we're
they
going to make
hire,
this commitment, let's go.
I agree, and they also hire well on the front end, too, which is incredibly important because Jeff Fisher was consistent as crap with the Titans and with the Rams, and look what that got them.
Yeah,
and then as soon as they made the change, then things took off. So you got to make the right hire, but I'm with you. If you're going to go knowing Gruden, who he is, what he does, what he represents, the work ethic that he brings, the quality of talent he's going to bring with him, knowing all those things are already existing, yes, you've got to make a commitment for at a minimum 3 years and more like 5, like what you're talking about. Totally agree.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Isn't that fun though, listening to those old things, man? And I got a bunch of them. We're gonna have fun with this off season, man. Going back to go back to the Gruden days, man. That was good stuff, dude. It's been a long time ago, but it's been good stuff.
Good.
Yep.
All right, Murph, we are out of time for this week's show. So once again, we are Raiders Fan Radio. We are a podcast, a weekly podcast. You can find us on RaidersFanRadio.com. You can find the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just type in Raiders Fan Radio, and our podcast will show up: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, all that kind of stuff. On Twitter, Raiders Fan Radio, but prominently, Murph, we're also on Facebook, a lot more than Twitter. And so we each have our own profile on Facebook, Sonny Raiders Fan Radio, and then Murph Raiders Fan Radio. We're in all the groups that are on Facebook, and also our page, Raiders Fan Radio. Please go like it and subscribe, like our podcast and stuff, whatever it is you listen to a podcast on. Appreciate all the new listeners. Matthew in the chat right now, appreciate that. Appreciate everybody, all the chiming in on Facebook and stuff. Love the interaction. All that stuff is awesome. And we don't quit. Off season, we just shift the days, and we try to give you one every single week as well. We'll be doing a lot of interviews in the off season with people from around the nation. A lot of times we do. I'm blanking right now, Murph.
Well, tell them about what we want out of the voicemails. Now that we're not going to have games every week, tell them what we can do for the Sea of Fans mailbag. Some ideas we had.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so booster clubs. We interview a lot of, I don't know why it was escaping me. We interview a lot of booster clubs in the off season and stuff like that. Being that it's going to be in the off season, we thought about doing something kind of cool. I'm a dad. I got a 2 and a 4-year-old. Murph's a dad. He has a 14-year-old going on 40 because he's benching like 250 now, and and a 12-year-old. So we're all about being dads. My dad was the guy who brought me into the Raider fandom faith, if you will. I got a picture of him right here next to my office with me and him and Kenny Stabler. So we thought about doing something like, Raider family moments. So instead of calling in with your frustrations about the game this week, call in maybe during the off season. Let us know about your Raider family moments, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, give us a call and share a memory about either you and your dad or you and your kids or something like that in regards to your Raider fandom. And we'll take one call every single week, and we'll kind of play it on the show and talk about it and share memories and just talk about the Raider family and the traditions we all share with our kids and with our fathers being Raider fans and stuff like that. That'd be kind of a cool way to kind of do in the off season and stuff. So already guys on the chat saying 3 kids, all that kind of stuff as well. So I think it'd be a fun way to go up to the season.
Absolutely. Yep. That's what it's all about, man. That's what this Raider Nation is, man. It's one big family. That's why it's not defined by a city they play in. It's not defined by anything, but your passion for this football team and really how we celebrate it with one another, right? Like that's heck, you and I are cousins, man. That's how we get down, man.
Yeah, and then Jeff Haskins on the chat there. He operates DeadPirateSports.com. Any Raiders thing you need, check out DeadPirateSports.com. He also says he's going to have some things to give away on the show. So, Murph, we should reach out to Jeff and get him back on the show.
Yeah, and I think we actually even this isn't even an ad. This is just not only because Jeff is a great guy and has done some fantastic work for us, for some merch for with our stuff. But there's a promo code. If you use RFR10 at checkout, then you get 10% off of your order for anything at DeadPirateSports.com. Again, he's not paying us for that. That's just we like the guy and he does great stuff. So hook him up.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking us out. Again, RaidersFanRadio.com. And moving on, man. Moving on. It's Raider Nation, wherever, forever.
I mean, I am one hot mother...